Once I learned how to do more complex stuff using code, I can never look back. Took like a video recording and I slowed them down to learn this sequence of the animation. I'd rather creating something that I'm proud of rather than chasing the industry. Basically everything has been made. You don't invent a fucking circles, right?
Okay, Bimo, about GSAP. So do you still do everything in custom code, or do you use the Webflow interactions, the GSAP feature, or both, and why?
Very good question. I'm exclusively coding all of my animation and interaction right now, and there's a reason for that. I just can optimize it further, and there's a lot of utilities and methods that GSAP has if you're doing coding yourself that are still not lacking, but actually I don't know how to use it in the GSAP UI in the Webflow native GSAP. I've tried the native Webflow GSAP. It's cool. It's the horizontal timeline and then the ability to select a nested elements like data attribute, maybe IDs or a lot of custom stuff. But I don't know, man. It's me. I feel like that once I learn how to program, I'm not a developer per se, but once I learn how to do like a lot of like more complex stuff using code, I can never look back using it. Like, even like a Webflow, what is it? Like a Webflow interaction prior to GSAP. Like, I don't know. This is me though.
Yeah. Are there something particular or specific that you kind of miss from the all the custom code stuff that is not yet on the Webflow interaction feature?
Control, for example, it could be like a lot of things, right? For example, if I wanted to trigger some elements on the very, very, very first load, not the subsequent refresh of the page, and I want to hide things up, I need a logic to control that and thus trigger the GSAP animation to play all of that. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And that's required the code, not necessarily the GSAP itself, but the code to complete the entire experience, let's just say. So yeah, that's my reason. Not necessarily it's better than the native GSAP UI, but people can do a lot of crazy things with the native GSAP UI. Make no mistake about it. But I just prefer to do that kind of stuff. So yeah. Hopefully that answered your question. But
Oh, totally. And I have heard some similar, like, should I say, opinions or ways to work from people who have been using GSAP for a while. Obviously, they gotten used to doing the custom code stuff, and there are things that you cannot yet do with the native thing. So that is a good reason to use the custom code. But a very specific question: when you use the custom code, like in the Webflow build, where do you like host or put that custom code? So is it in the page settings or in embed, or do you host it somewhere else? Where is it?
Oh God, gets totally technical. I love it.
Yeah.
I saw people doing custom code that they do embeds and then they put it into the components or maybe the page and then load the GSAP and everything. I find that I'm losing the control again. And so I host all of my code in GitHub. So I have like a repository, like a starter boilerplate for every project that I run. And then I deploy all of the code hosted in Vercel or Netlify, but I'm using Vercel right now. Vercel is like the fastest and connected to the Webflow using script. And I also have like one small function that checks if I set like a flag in my URL in the browser. If I set like a def equal true in the browser, it's going to pull all of the code from my VS Code or any local dev environment that I have. Or if it's not, then it's going to pull everything from the Vercel one that I've already deployed. And each time I save some codes or some update, and then I commit it to GitHub deploying it into the Vercel, and then it gets updated into the Webflow pretty fast. Hopefully that's
Right.
not too complex, but yeah.
No, that's why we are like here for the nerdy stuff. But before we go any any further, we have to do little introductions. So my name is Janne Parri. I'm your host today and also a Webflow dude from Finland. And my guest today is Bimo III, founder of Studio Bimo J, an independent Webflow studio based in Indonesia. Bimo works at the intersection of design and development, building motion-rich and GSAP-powered websites for designers, studios, design-driven brands. You have actually received quite a few awards, and you have also been giving those awards as a awards jury member. But I believe things have not always been like this. So I was just listening to the Webflow episode you made with Jack, and there you talked about doing drop shipping and affiliate sites. And in my mind, if you would have continued with that course, you would be some sort of funnel builder or something like that. So how did you end up on this more creative side of the internet?
I was actually a funnel builder before. So I'm assuming you're familiar with ClickFunnels.
Yeah,
or something like ClickFunnels, lead pages, or things like that. Like it's essentially technically called, now that I know, it's like a landing page. It's not like a funnel.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what the fuck is a funnel even? Like, it's just like a HTML with CSS and some functionality JavaScript so that people can check out and all that. And I was a funnel builder doing, again, dropshipping and affiliate marketing. And do we want to go into like that kind of backstory? Right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Bring it on.
Okay. So the love of development is actually came from my past experience with working in the studio and then the affiliate marketing stuff. Like I do create like a website, SEO powered website, and will publish like a lot of articles using WordPress. And oftentimes it's some slight kind of JavaScript embedded kind of snippets in there to what is it called, that kind of to inject the affiliate link. And yeah, I think from there I start working in agency because my SEO skills. And then after the SEO, after I working in agency, like I decided to work on my own self. I mean, being freelance, I stumbled upon WordPress stuff like Divi, Elementor, and then eventually Webflow because of Segal. We all know and love Ran for kind of introducing Webflow to the masses, let's just say. I believe it was Segal in Chris Dove's video. That was my very first interaction with Webflow. I was like, okay, it's cool. And I still think that back then, Webflow is still kind of like, it's alien, right? It's diff. What the fuck is that? Like section, like what? It's still not native to my language at that time. So I was like, and then I took the course. I mean, this is like kind of the simplified or the short story I took Flux Academy's course, the second or maybe the first iteration actually of Flux, and then fell in love with Webflow afterwards. And what else? Oh, Joseph Berry, very important role. Joseph Berry and Timothy Ricks, two of the biggest players in Webflow, right? Joseph Berry is kind of like, Joe is kind of like opening up my mind into what Webflow actually capable of. At that time, before GSAP, obviously, my mindset is like, if I can build this as a designer, as a non-coder, right? And I can do a lot of this crazy stuff. Like I can charge my client like a lot more, because back then, probably early 2020 or maybe 2019, there are not a lot of like big players that does kind of crazy stuff as Joe did back then. So I was like very motivated, and then took the course after Flux. I still remember the course's name. It's called Create Award-Winning Website with Webflow by Awards, and the teacher is Joseph Berry, and I was like, damn, this is the craziest stuff. And yeah, I think after that, after Joe's course, I start to dig into like, what's possible, and then eventually learning like, I mean, to surpass my limitation at the time, I need to learn programming, like web programming, not necessarily mastering, but but like the kind of fundamental of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What kind of like what's working behind the background? So that's it makes your website running, navigating, putting on colors, meaning forms, and all that. So, dude, yeah, I mean, sorry for rambling like a lot, but yeah, I think that's a serious story, and here we are.
That is so cool. Was it like, well, I guess it was a like conscious effort to get more like those fancy projects with cool animations and interactions.
Mhm.
Was it like hard to get to that point? Did you miss like the SEO stuff or the old stuff, or was it like gradual change to the more visual stuff?
I think it's gonna be natural for me to gravitate towards something design. I'm not like a designer per se. I just like doing design back then while I was working in an agency, doing my best just to design a lot of those funnels. And then sometimes I do ads, and I did not know that I like design actually at that time until I was learning how to design like very, very recently. Recently, it's like probably 3 to 4 years ago. And yeah, I think it's natural. It's kind of pulling me into this kind of visual arts stuff, not necessarily the kind of complex SEO that I did. I think the job is like a lot easier when doing that SEO, making that website with a lot of articles that get ranked, and then you get a affiliate commission. I think it's way easier, but the job is kind of boring. You didn't get a lot of cool stuff. Let's just say that. Just putting out an article and then that's it. And I can do it in like 30 minutes to an hour a day of work.
That's cool. How about like nowadays, how much of your time goes to the development and how much goes to the more creative stuff like the designs? And what sort of projects do you have going right now?
In a client project context, I don't do the design. I have like my designer doing the design, and I only do the art direction and the creative direction, like pulling out some mood boards and like the overall stuff, meeting with clients. I usually spend at least 2 to 3 hours first thing at the start of my work days to do like some design work and perhaps getting some mood boards if I need one or something like that. And then I spend the rest of my days like doing development, because that's gonna take like most of my time doing devs. So yeah.
I'm curious about that process. You mentioned that you do like the art direction and then you have a different person doing the design. What's your standard process? Do you like do personas? You mentioned mood boards. What are like the phases that you go through from the art direction to the design?
It's not always in almost every project. If it's a project, it's kind of simple. They already have like their brand guideline or the direction that they want it to be in, kind of settled in. It's kind of make the jobs like a lot easier. I just need to design, and if I don't have my designers available, like I have like a few contractor designers that work for me. I do the design myself, and if the client needs to have like kind of, let's just say like a little blank canvas, like we don't know like how to approach or brand or design direction, I would start probably asking them a lot of questions, starting from like, hey, what do you want to communicate? Like, what is your brand through essence? Like, it's not kind of like colors and then typography, like starting out like that. It's more like kind of the story, the writing. I write a lot when doing this creative direction and art direction. So I need to understand what the company is, what the brand is, what they're trying to communicate, what they wanted to be seen. If imagine your brand as a person, I mean, how is it going to look like? How do they dress? How do they speak? For example, that can lead to a lot of different things visually, right? If your brand is kind of like more elegant, maybe a typeface like serif, elegant, pretty thin line, tightly curved, would suit it best, and like more natural kind of dark color would suit best. If it's like a funky, they dress certain way, they walk certain way, and they want it to be seen like that, their presence online. Obviously, the typeface choice and color will have to address and to carry that brand to communicate everything. So that's before I gather all of the mood boards, by the way. This is kind of my work process into art direction. The rest are pretty much the same as any other designers, gathering mood boards from other brands and then doing some initial layouts, finding typefaces and an existing photograph or maybe assets from other brands that kind of look cool. And yeah, dude, it's not kind of like I have like a pretty particular process, but the process of designing and art direction, it's pretty much the same, like for most designers, essentially.
Or maybe everyone just thinks that it is the same, but everyone has their own.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I want to like hone in, although you said that it is quite like ordinary thing, like ordinary mood boards. But you mentioned the future video, like Chris Doe, and back in the day, I used to do like those stylescapes. So do you go so far with the mood boards, or do you keep it lean and just throw in some like reference images? So what is the balance? How far you go with the mood boards?
I do used to, if it's like a branding project, which I rarely can get, I do like a mini stylescape. If it's like a website, I rarely do that. I did it. I learned it from taking the Flow Party courses. Joe basically, the way I did it is pretty similar. It's making a layout, kind of almost like a stylescape, that the feature stylescape. Like you create like a 3 moods or 2, right? And just basically pairing the typeface, the color, and the imagery and assets and all that. And if you ask how deep I want to go with it, it depends on the client, actually. It depends on the scope. If they pay a lot, I'm going to give my everything, obviously. But if it's like, hey, this is like a rather short project. If it's like a design dev, for context, if it's like a design dev, okay, we only have like a month to design and dev this landing page. Of course, I don't have much time to work. I'll probably just gather some layout references and some website references, and that's all, I guess.
And after that, like you have your art direction, your mood boards, you give those to the designer. And what do you want to like get from the designer? Do you all the pages, all the screen sizes, and are there any like specific things that you are like strict about when talking with the designer?
I give my designers pretty free exploration. Do whatever you want. This is again going to be depends on project to per client, as I say. If you get like right now, my current project is I get to essentially free canvas. They need design direction and web design and then dev. Right now, what I'm doing is that I don't have like a lot of strict rules for him to design. I just need like design in grid, like, and that's necessarily dictate how many columns of grid you want to use. I just like at least design this in grids and tell me what type of grid you're using, because that's how I'm doing my dev. I'm using grids, using Lumos, like 12 column, 10 column, 16, whatever. And that's the only kind of request that I say to my designers. And I don't like to kind of give like a lot of creative people rules. I just kind of give them a direction. Hey, this is like more into kind of modern tech brand, for example. So this is the typeface that are going to be like kind of suitable for the brand. This is the type of imagery or the feeling that I want. You do you, everything, like including the animation or interaction if they have one. Like, hey, let's do this. Let's go. Let's do it.
Nice. Actually, my next question would have been about those animations. Like, at what point they come into the picture? Because I have seen your work, and there are like very big and cool animations, and it would be hard to put those in a static canvas. So, at what point those come into picture, and do you like brainstorm those with the designer, or does the designer come up with those? And yeah, how do you do those?
Usually, if we're talking about prototyping the kind of interaction, I rarely do that if it's like my own kind of project and I do the design myself. But if I were to work with someone, I would love them to like at least putting out some references as a website, or not even a website though, like It could be like something they see on Pinterest or maybe even like a YouTube videos or something else. Just give it to me if you can record some stuff, and then we can then iterate or explore based off of that. That comes much later, I guess, during the projects. Ideally, after everything is finished, after the high fidelity or maybe all the skin have been done, let's explore that. But I'm pretty much open though. I mean, if during the design process that if I design the website myself, I came across something, I would go jump straight away into Webflow and just explore stuff like straight away. Like I because I tend to procrastinate a lot. So that's why I'm just like, okay, let's just spinning out some stuff that I can maybe use or maybe not. So if it's like with a designer and they have like some ideas during the process, like let's explore that. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
depends.
That's the thing with the coolest and newest stuff, that you kind of have to have some sort of proof of concept. You have to like do something that you know that it will work. Oftentimes you get excited about that and you realize that you haven't done the actual design. You have just played around with the Webflow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that too. Quick side notes here. So I have already booked a bunch of great guests for the show. So if you are liking what you're hearing and seeing, please consider subscribing. I am also doing live streams on YouTube, so check the schedule from my channel and come and say hi while I'm live. That's all. On with the show. What about like, well, we talked about the work with designers, but do you do like work with studios, agencies, and what sort of client mix do you?
Right now, the client dynamics that I have right now is one with an agency. I do dev for them, and one other is for like a direct client doing design dev. So yeah, I do like partner up with some agencies that I'm under an NDA. I cannot say that, but mostly they requested like some dev assistance and early design, but yeah, mostly dev, doing some custom coding.
That is nice. NDA sounds mysterious and cool. But do you prefer one or the other? If you could choose, would you do like own clients or more of those agency stuff, or which would you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, direct client it's not always better, but working with an agency is also cool. Depends on who you're working with, by the way. I mean, right now I'm working with one of the top guys, not necessarily one of the top guys, but pretty well known in the design space. His studio or agency is one of the kind of most sought after in the US. At least not necessarily like that, but let's just say one of the top player guys. And it's a great agency. And I love that, doing creative stuff. And we explore a bunch of stuff. And working with my current client right now is also, it's a cool experience. Like, I don't know, this year has been really great for me. The client is like open to my direction and they actually trusted me with everything. That's rare. And they pay a lot. So, so yeah. And they don't demand like a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Nice. So that's the client you go all in and spend all your nights doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously some folks like the agency work because they do not have to do like the sales or anything like that. They do not have to get the client. But if you have the clients coming to you, obviously that's not that hard and you might enjoy your own clients. But I'm curious, how did you get to know those agencies, or how did they find you? And did you have some sort of like effort to get to the agency work?
Network, strangely enough, like mostly being active on social like LinkedIn, Twitter, and just to connect with a lot of different studios that you admire. It helps a lot though. Like I've no idea that this agency or person will be my client just because of I'm engaging with someone that they know of, and that someone that they know of eventually recommending me to them as a developer. So mostly my clientele right now is through network with a lot of cool people, like just engaging on their contents and whatnot. It's not necessarily like I selling them my service. I engage with their content, it's because it's purely I love the content. It's not like, hey, it's not on purpose that I want a job. It's just
Yeah.
like, I don't care if they give me like a leads or something. I don't give a fuck. I engage with people's content is because either I like it or I want to say something. If not, then I don't. Really, like I really posting some stuff like entrepreneurial, like thought leadership posts on every social that I have. Like I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. I just want to post like if I want to post something like a milestone of my career or life, I will do that. But mostly my posts it's just like work stuff, working with people that I like, and that gave me like a lot of leads. Strangely enough, but I'm very grateful that it happened that way. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. That's a cool. Like, obviously, the social media has a lot of potential, but you have to be active on that. So, do you do more like engaging with other folks' stuff, or how much do you post about your stuff, or do you have any goals to post weekly, daily, or anything like that, or is it just like organic, as you said before?
This is like organic, dude. Like if I don't have like a post in a month, I don't. If I don't have to post, if I don't have something to show, like exploration or maybe client project, I don't. It's not like I do like forcing or maybe I should starting to like kind of plan that stuff ahead. But right now I don't. I have like a fixed schedule to engage with other people, to post something on LinkedIn or on Twitter or any of the social media. It is organic, purely organic, like engaging with people's stuff. Like, and it's just being social on social media, essentially.
Yeah.
Really. Like, right? It's simple
Yeah.
though. You don't have to kind of premeditate everything. Oh, I'm gonna approach this person because this person is like CEO of this company, and then eventually they'll become a client. Fuck that shit, man. It's kind of been fake, and I mean it's okay,
Yeah.
but it's not how I wanted to work. Let's just say this like particular company has a lot of budget to spend with, like they have like hundreds, if not hundreds, thousands of dollars for like a project or a website. Like if I don't like the company or maybe even the person itself, just how they behave online, I wouldn't do shit. I even going to block them, even though they're giving away a job or maybe even though they want to hire me. I don't care. And that's just me. It's not like the best approach. It's just my approach. But yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's probably like you are playing the long game. So you are being active. Whenever you have something to post, you post and so on. Maybe the pressure to post or meditate everything beforehand comes when people are trying to get their first client or the next client, and they are in desperate need of some clients.
Oh, dude, I did that at the beginning of my career after I switched from like working in SEO, working in agency, and then desperately need a client. Like, hey, like I'm approaching people just because I want to work. It's almost guaranteed. I mean, it's not almost guaranteed, but it just happened to me that it doesn't work. I didn't get the client, or I do get the client, but a bad one. Like they demand a lot of like changes. They didn't pay a lot, right? So I learned my mistake. So instead of like forcing myself, like sounded desperate, client can smell that if you desperately need some work, and they're going to abuse it. Like at least that's how I experience it. That's what my experience. Like if you're showing like kind of quote unquote weakness or like you're not confident or maybe you sound desperate. Oh my god, man, they can immediately know. Okay, this person needs like the job. Like I can do like a lot of stuff with less money. I mean, not always the case though, by the way. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the conflict with sales. You kind of want the job, but you have to appear like you don't need it. Or the best case is obviously if you don't need it, but when you are in the position that you desperately need it, do you have the nerves to say like, okay, I can walk away from this one if needed? That takes like balls. One has to look at those Christo videos before sales calls, like Jack did.
Yeah. I mean, I walk away from a job like that pays well, doing basically Webflow dev like a couple of times just because I don't like the job. And I don't know if I should regret it or not, but I'm approaching it, or maybe I'm seeing it as a learning curve for me. Like, we've never know, like the client will be like a quote unquote bad client or a very demanding one before we jumpstart the project, right? Sometimes they might seem very nice, very trusting before we kick off the project. And then after the project gets like 20% going, and then they starting to be like an asshole. That happens quite often.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I mean, depends.
Yeah, you live and learn. But hey, since you have the SEO background, how's your SEO game right now? Do you do any SEO efforts or even engine optimization, the new buzzword?
Yeah, I've started to get into that, but I don't campaign SEO wise, like doing it like the way I did back when I was like kind of SEO guy and affiliate. Might not work because Google updated shit every single year or even months, even like their algorithm changes. Like, and that's why I just did like a very minimal SEO friendly stuff on my web. At least if people searching for my name, it's get discovered at the Google, and that's it. Then I don't like running SEO campaign, but articles and stuff like that. But I don't know, probably my SEO game sucks right now, but I don't care.
Yeah, you just need like one good channel to get those leads. So, for some, it might be the SEO or Google. For some, it is like social media channels. Yeah.
Right.
Someone might like go big on Instagram or something like that. I don't know, but you do not have to like do all of them. Obviously, again, if you are desperate, you kind of feel that whatever works first. That's the thing.
By the way, this is kind of mind-boggling to me, at least. So I have a friend in Bali from the UK. He didn't have a fucking Instagram for his studio, and yet he's running a 6-figure web design, and not just a web design, but a design business in Bali. How fucking crazy is that? The leads are essentially from the network of people in Bali or maybe in the UK, but dude just network a lot, crazy a lot, and he always gets a job. And that proves to me that you don't necessarily have like a strong quote unquote social media presence to get client, or maybe, I mean, it's good if you do, by the way, if you have like a strong personal brand, like Chris Do, or maybe someone like, if you know Jasmine Alec, the LinkedIn guy. I don't know if you know him.
I've probably seen him.
It's great. It's a plus, and your content game and plus the network it's going to bring you a lot of leads. But my point is, you don't necessarily have like a strong, or maybe again to piggyback our conversation about like the leads, you don't have to like actively force yourself to post every single week, just to get to stay in the game. If that makes sense. So it can be like a lot of channels to bring those leads. So yeah.
Oh, totally. And your example with the non-existing Instagram for a design agency is good, because you kind of would imagine that that sort of agency would be on a creative social media like Instagram. But then if you think it through, it is a B2B business. Obviously, there are people doing the decisions, but they might not be always on Instagram, and LinkedIn might be just better for them if you choose just one platform. And you mentioned all the referrals, so
yeah,
obviously in Instagram people usually like to be entertained. It might not be the best place to sell services, but I'm kind of curious, since we are on this topic of social media, so which social media do you prefer? You mentioned that you post on LinkedIn and Twitter. What's your opinion on all the platforms, and which one do you prefer?
Okay, context. Is it for design or work, or is it like for my personal?
Let's start with the work type of stuff.
Work, I personally love LinkedIn to kind of be active, to be social on LinkedIn and Instagram. And the least favorite are actually, I'm being there just because of like, I just like want to have like a presence is Twitter. It's fucking trash. Like it's like, it's going to be dependent. Instagram, it kind of always like kind of been trash if you happen just to stumble upon posts that you hate. And Twitter is far even worse. Like sometimes the people you follow or maybe even people you like in your Twitter network reposting stuff, and then you just happen to see that, and then it gets piled and it's snowballing like a lot of random political stuff and bad stuff. Like I really hate that. And the best one is LinkedIn. It's professional. Like my home feed is now full of like design and development, and then that's it. No political bullshit and meme and all that kind of doom scrolling fucking bullshit that's going to spend like at least an hour, right? It's going to take your time. So yeah, LinkedIn, to answer your question, it's my favorite. And for personal, let me piggyback. It's Instagram because it's like most of people are using Instagram, like just to network with a lot of my friends from schools, and my all old friends are using Instagram, and then that's it.
Yeah, that is true that on Instagram, you do still follow your friends and you DM those friends and so on. And LinkedIn is more like professional thing. And
Yeah.
no one hangs out in Facebook, so obviously you have friends back there,
yeah.
but no one uses that.
Yeah.
But people might not like LinkedIn because, as you said, there might be those self-improvement type of folks. And those might be the first posts that you see when you get on the platform. But as you said, if you follow the right people, your feed will be like curated to your liking, obviously. So I like LinkedIn too. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But you can block that post though. Like
totally, yeah.
I like even ads, like sometimes you get random fucking ads like that does not relate to you at all, right? Like what is it like about oil and gas company? I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in my feed? Like, right? What is it? Like I report the ad because it's not relevant to my algorithm. I was like, okay, and I can mute and not necessarily mute people, but block people on LinkedIn. If I saw something like, hey, I learned this and this and that, all the buzzwords and the hot topics from 2025, actually 2024 until today, AI. I built this shit with Cloud Code in 10 minutes. Fucking bullshit. Like, you don't, first of all, that's bullshit. Like, you prompted in, like, you need at least an hour to play around with it. Like, I immediately muted them. Or maybe they do. Maybe they did, like, create that landing page or whatever the fuck that is in 10 minutes. I don't care. I immediately like kind of block them or mute them on LinkedIn. I forgot what is it called, but yeah, like kind of that rage baiting, and then eventually in their post they're gonna sell you something. They're gonna sell something, DM me something, or comment with whatever the fuck, and then I'm going to DM you this. I was like, nah, that's too good to be true. Thank you.
Yeah, I have been thinking that. Is that something I should do? But it gets a bit like weird and icky. So maybe we should just do like, as you said, organic. When you have something to show, then you can do the post.
But strangely enough, dude, that bullshit post is making money. It did. Yeah. I mean, the craziest part is that people are buying into that kind of bullshit. That it might sound like icky to us, like whatever, what it is, like, but that dude, or maybe that girl, or maybe that very person that doing that, making money off of it, and the posts get a lot of engagement, and then get pushed to my feed because it got a lot of traction, right? So I was like, I mean, you do you, but I'm gonna block you anyway. So yeah, bye. Like, I don't care, whatever it is that you do.
Okay. Since you mentioned Claude, I have to ask what kind of AI tools you use and for what purposes.
Okay. Cloud. I used to use Cursor, but switching to Cloud Code now very recently, probably just like a week or 2 weeks in for most of my coding stuff. So I just get to like review my code, and I still code like manually, especially when it comes to like interaction or animation. Like you cannot vibe code that. Like it doesn't have that animation taste like you do as
Yeah.
a person, as a human being who can feel, who can see, right? Algorithm, it's ones and zero. It's a machine. And the other one probably right now, probably the least right now, at least Mid Journey, to generate like assets and placeholder for my client so that they get, for example, like this is a great use cases of Mid Journey. My client needs like a kind of photography direction. Obviously, I'm pulling from a mood board and references from like a real brand, but I also generate AI image using Mid Journey and use that product as a context with the mood that I've gathered, that I gathered
Nice, yeah.
from like, right? So it's not like, first of all, it's always best to use like a real photography. It's using AI as a references or maybe just to get some ideas going. That's how I've been doing it. It's not like, hey, this is like the final product, whether
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
visual or whether it's code. It's a good starting point, the AI.
Yeah, totally. And that's a good tip that you can give whatever you have found to that point and generate me something that works well with this mood or this style. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
About the like coding stuff and interactions, I wonder if there is a person who wants to get into more complex interactions like GSAP, and they are not a coder, but they want to start doing some stuff with GSAP. What would you advise to them? Where should they start? Should they like wipe code some GSAP code, or should they use the Webflow interaction stuff and learn that first, or do everything at the same time?
Okay, that's a good question. And if I'm going to speak this for myself, if I were to get to like have to start again, I would probably going to exhaust every single thing in the native GSAP in Webflow until I hit a ceiling, like a wall, because that's what actually did happen to me back then. If you hit like a ceiling or control, again, I'm missing control. That's why I got all of the interaction or maybe whatever functionality that I need in my websites. You're eventually going to learn something either like through cloud code or something. Like you're going to end up like learning JavaScript and HTML and CSS eventually. But if you're just getting started, just use native Webflow. It's already been, dude, it's crazy powerful Webflow right now with GSAP and a lot of like native stuff. You don't have to code if you want to build like more interactive stuff, but if you want to take it to the next level, yeah, obviously you have to code. Like you have to learn web programming. You have to know like how the browser renders all of that DOM element, the node trees, and but yeah, just learn the fundamentals of basic in Webflow, and then take step by step. Well, okay, if I want to add something, page transition, for example, page transition are still needed like little snippets of JavaScript to make that happen, to make that seamlessly transitioning between pages, and yeah, and then start from there, and then learn from watching YouTube videos, maybe take some courses, and yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that because the Webflow interactions is quite powerful. It just got some
Yeah.
nice little updates, and you could do a lot with that. You can split the text, and you have integrations to
The
Rive and Spline and
yeah, Rive too.
all that. Yeah, so you can really do a lot with that, and you might find that you do not even have to do custom stuff for
You
your
might not
use
need
case.
it at
Yeah.
all, right? For your use cases, if you don't want to build like super crazy award-winning or whatever it is like experience, you don't. Especially like most client projects that needs to like have some basic split text animation or just some trivial stuff, just do it natively in Webflow. Just don't add more complexity to your
Yeah.
projects, especially if your project's already kind of have like a lot of requirement to integrate like a lot of third-party stuff. That's very important note that sometimes adding that third party that you don't have control can slows your site load speeds down. And adding another custom coding, not necessarily that you don't necessarily need, with just doing some basic stuff animation, can also put some burden into your site load speeds. Yeah, I mean, just use native stuff, especially if you integrate a lot of marketing channels and Google Tag Manager, Facebook Pixels, and all that.
Oh yeah.
HubSpot, and you just don't add complexity to if you don't need it. I mean, but if you can, it's cool. I'm not saying you can, but yeah.
Yeah. One specific use case was on my mind. I was doing some CSS animation, and I was like wondering if I should do it with the GSAP thing or with the CSS, because I was already like loading the GSAP, and I was wondering if it would be all the same for the loading speed to just make it with GSAP instead of CSS. Do you have any like insight about that type of consideration?
If you're doing something, let me track back for a second. So this is how I pick up knowledge that I pick up from one of GSAP teacher, let's just say Creative Coding Club by Carl Schuf. His name is Carl Schuf. And one of the students asked if it's like you just said, is it better like a CSS animation with the translate and all that in GSAP? And so he did a small experimentation, like basically GSAP, like it's a JavaScript programming language to move all of that. But in the background, what actually happening is it's like a CSS transition, not CSS transition, but JavaScript animation. And it's not kind of big of a difference in terms of performance, quote unquote. But JavaScript has a lot more potentials and complexities to be added on. Like if you want to have this many open and then this and the other side of some elements hiding, or you want to stop scrolling when the menu is open, that needs JavaScript. But if your basic hover effect, or even like some open modal menus, nowadays you can do it with CSS. Just do it with CSS. It's a lot more browser friendly because it's rendered, or maybe it's processes in the CPU rather than the GPU itself. And I don't know, I could be wrong though, but yeah, just use CSS if for some basic stuff like hover and a lot of small stuff, and load the more complex animation or functionalities to JavaScript.
Yeah. And obviously, if you are the only one editing, it is easy for you to know everything you have done. But if there are other people, you should like do documentation or some sort of guide where everything is. And at that point, it might be simpler if all the things are at the same place or done with the same thing. If it is not that big of a difference, the loading speed or the performance. But I was thinking before this one, like a Webflow is great for learning like CSS and HTML. You learn the logic, and I was wondering if the interaction tool would be a good way to learn GSAP. In a way, there is the same logic, and you said that one could start with that, but all the stuff you need for the actual like custom coding, there is still quite a long gap. Would you agree?
Yeah, it is. But Webflow is a fun way to learn web programming visually, though. Let's just say that, right? You learn styling using Webflow panels. Oh, okay, this is div. Oh, so what that does, and this is the markup or the HTML elements in the side left panel. And you can add section, you can add div, you can add like a form. This is like a nav. You eventually will learn a lot of developer terms, or maybe the basic web programming using Webflow. That's why I said like exhaust everything in the native Webflow, either functional or interaction stuff, before you jumping into custom code. Jumping into custom code only if you hit like a ceiling, and it's depends on the ceiling itself. It depends on like how I might have to nest it like 5 CMS collection under one collection, and that requires JavaScript to it. So obviously, right? And I need to filter this based off of this. And actually, Webflow just recently launched like an upgraded quote unquote conditional visibility, and I've been abusing it. It's quite powerful, actually.
Yeah.
It's quite good. It can filter based off if this set, and then I want to have this, and then if this set is on, you're not having writing JavaScript, right? So
Oh, yeah.
again,
Oh, yeah.
that's exhausted the Webflow native capabilities first. Especially now, the way people build are getting, I'd say, a lot more complex with the component properties. I'm still kind of adjusting myself. Like I used to build like a pretty loose build. Like sometimes I don't want to have that constraint that, okay, this is component, and then the layout are kind of limiting the layout, but Timotrix has proven that wrong. Again, it's crazy stuff, but yeah. And if you can do well with the native Webflow capabilities, especially with the building with the page slots component, yeah, you're gonna do great.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, and I'm sure of that.
There's been a lot of talk, well, on this show also about the components and all the stuff, cool stuff we can do with those. Like, as you said, the visibility settings. I was playing around with those just today.
Yeah.
I knew that is like very handy, but now I like understood when I did some component work and just wanted to like conditionally show something, and I didn't have to use any tricks for that. So that is cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Lumos and Timothy Ricks, and yeah, obviously that is a cool framework and very developer-friendly framework. So how did you end up using Lumos, and have you checked if any other frameworks would be suitable for you?
I was not using any frameworks. I tried FinSuite back then, didn't like it because it gets it. No offense, FinSuite are great guys. Like Alex Iglesias are great developers, and the way they did it, they must have had like a reason why the way they build style. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's particularly because like you just get too much wrapper just to have some padding. I was like, fuck that. Like I don't want to have that on my build. And then eventually learning Lumos after Tim introducing Grid, the way we built using column span, and then we can accurately placing our contents accordingly to the grid cell itself or the grid column itself. That totally changed the way I built and the way I design. So the way I do my stuff right now, if I build it or design it in 12 column in my Figma, I will do it in 12 column in my Webflow and so on. Like I have like a couple of projects that are in 10 column grids. The designers design, I asked them in 10 column grids, and then I built it in 10 column grids. And actually, one of my last exploration was in 16 column. I just wanted to push it like how far building with grids can do. And yeah, dude, that's one of the biggest takeaway, or maybe the biggest plus point for me, at least, using Lumos. I'm still using the old Lumos, by the way, not the newer stuff with the page slots and then the component stuff. Like I'm just still, let's just say I'm taking those from Lumos and making my own kind of build style. But yeah, slowly adapting to the component build style.
Well, I believe that everyone is like trying to make it work. In a way, everyone is seeing like the bright future where you can just put components into slots and easily build all sorts of layouts and give the control to your client, to some marketer who wants to build a page. But it is still a lift. You have to do all those components, and even then, if you build cool components, you have to teach the client to use them. It is easier, and you can do it with the build mode, but it's still a learning curve, and every system is like unique. But I was thinking about the Lumos. I'm just like getting into it, and I use the newest version.
Yeah, I saw that on your live build show on your YouTube. I was like, okay, dude is trying to get into Lumos. Nice. I was like, yeah, welcome. It takes like a bit, the learning curve is a bit steep, especially if you're not familiar with building with like component, because Tim does it in a way where you style the layout in the component, that's where it gets tricky, right? Like the syntaxes and the classes gets a bit kind of hard to learn. But once you get the hang of it, it's quite powerful kind of system.
Oh, totally.
Let's say.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I already can see that. And yeah, there are so many like little things that you have to like check what is this about during your first build. But I was thinking that those columns, you mentioned that you tried like 16 column layout. And I saw that in the newest version, the column counts, they are in variables. And there's a max number for variable modes for a specific variable.
12.
And that is 12. Yeah. And I was thinking, is that just like the gap for future to come? Or is it something that needs to be addressed? I don't know, but might be a limitation for you.
Yeah, maybe I'm just stupid enough to try 16 column grids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because yeah, as you mentioned, like Webflow variables panel right now, it has like a kind of limit mode. Sorry, variable modes is it like they only allows you to have like a kind of 12 items in it, and Lumos, the newest version, using the column count from that variable so that you can have it set in your layout, and then you just can toggle, hey, how many columns do you want to have in your grids. And in the older version of Lumos, Tim actually still embedded a CSS custom. So you can have like a var grid 12, 10, something, and then you can customize it. And that's what I'm still using to this day, because I can custom everything. I can have like a 20 column grids if I wanted to, but that's not a limitation per se. I think 12 column is enough. Like lots of great design, whether it's award winning or just like a simple, elegant, good web design, you probably don't need like that many grid columns, and 12 is pretty enough. And the way Tim did it, if you really following his kind of build style, it's kind of been easier to lay out. But it's just not my style though, building in component, like using in slots. I was like, content wrapper, I was like, okay, that's it for me. I mean, I'm kind of in the boat of closed component per Tim say. Like, so one layout, I make it like a component, but the user or maybe my client can swap the image, or maybe I made like a two component variants of that particular section. So one variant, let's just say the image on the left, and then the other variants is the image on the right, and the content or text or heading on the left. It's just something like that. It's just like, it's not as complex as in what he did, but yeah, I'm slowly adapting. But
yeah. There's a lot of talk and opinions about like open versus closed components, and yeah, I haven't made my mind. I'm still thinking that maybe we should have both in the project. So we have the static components with the properties, some editing possibilities for those, and then we should have some sort of open section components and open layout or grid within that, and that could be the middle road. But yeah, my opinion is still like in the works. It's developing, and yeah, obviously the Lumos thing is cool, and I'm getting like excited about all the open components you can use and all the things you can do with those. But again, it takes a little bit of learning for the client to actually use those. So I'm a bit skeptical.
Dude, even us developers having hard time understanding whatever it is. Like, okay, so let's take for example sliders in Lumos, MD, like RLG, like dash LG, that MD. Like, if you give it to client, will your client understand like what the fuck is that? Just basically just to set like a grid column for or even the client. And I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I'm a bit skeptical to leaving all of the control to the client, especially like sliders or maybe things that are often get messy if clients doing some mistakes or something like that. But again, dude, that was totally probably not all the case, or I don't know. But yeah, I'm still a bit skeptical to leaving all of that open component, and then you teach the client to to add that kind of component into the slots, and then the content wrapper, and then the div wrapper, and then this is how you style them. And I think, okay, one caveat though, if your client is a big enterprise client, maybe they have their own team to handle of the development, and that will be like a lot more makes sense, because if your client is like enterprise 6 figures, whatever client, they have their own team to manage the Webflow itself, must have some background in development or maybe in Webflow itself. They just need the Lumos type system to kind of help them to build the system itself, and then they can run it on their with their team, right? If it's like a direct CEO client that aren't so technical, or maybe not even technically at all, that's hard. The most like the probably are going to change image, swap the image, or maybe to change some copies, and that's it. They aren't going to kind of doing some crazy stuff with it. But yeah.
Yeah, I talked about this with Hal Zeitlin, and I believe they have some sort of own version of Lumos, and he phrased it quite well. He said that Lumos is very developer friendly, and what they are trying to do, they are trying to make it as marketer friendly as they can. So they are probably editing, taking away some complexities and naming things like in a certain way, so that the marketer has a chance to actually use the framework.
Yeah. Because that's if we are developers, we are oftentimes naming our classes or maybe components like in our terms as a dev, not necessarily as a marketer. Like, hey, this is section. What the fuck is that? If you're a marketer, or maybe, or maybe even someone who hasn't had any prior experience in web dev, it's going to be totally alien to them, right? And the way Tim did, as Hall mentioned, is probably for the marketing team to understood, like, okay, this is for the heading type, the heading component. Okay, this is a button, to simplify all that. But again, I'm still a bit skeptical. But it is like, it's probably only it's me who feels that eventually it's going to be me in the end who are going to make edits, or just like my past prior client that doesn't need that complex of a system, so they can build on their own.
But imagine if you have a good open system and your client asks that, could you add a section with some sort of basic content? And you are like magician because you do it like in 5 minutes or less. Yeah. Okay. We have talks about quite nerdy stuff about Webflow and components. That's great. But let's change gears a bit. I want to talk about awards, because you have been on both sides of the awards system, and I'm like curious if there are people looking at cool award sites and sites that win some other trophies, and they wanna get to that level. What should they focus on?
Yeah, that's a lot, dude. To win that's it's not just design. You can win by design, obviously, but your dev skills, or maybe the interaction, or maybe the creativity of the website itself, it's to speak also. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, focusing on the design maybe, or focusing on the dev skills itself. Depends on who you are and what you want to focus on your career. Obviously, if you are doing design, only design, study typography, go learn the old designers, what they're doing, like go deep into the history of design itself, and that's going to help you a lot. And if you're doing dev, obviously, go study from the people who have already won some awards, like the kind of big studio, or maybe the big individuals on awards. Like, how do their stuff, I mean, how they do what they did? I mean, technology wise, are they using WebGL in their websites, or how do they did it? Inspect their websites. I even go as far as, like, if I like something, I record it in my MacBook, or maybe took like a video recording, and I slow them down to learn the sequence of the animation. Like, okay, this is scale. yeah, how many seconds? Like, okay, or this is the using are using something power for in out or whatever, right? And the total length of the animation is 2 point something seconds. Like I go pretty hard in that. So and that's
Nice.
why I keep learning a lot of new stuff. But I don't nowadays because I've already probably you can say it, like built the skills to like okay, this is the animation is something something seconds. But I did still like the recording, but I don't go pretty I don't spend myself I don't spend like too much time like I was back in still when I was still learning, like slowing them down and doing all of that. But yeah, that's going to help you. Like study the design,
Yeah.
study the type, study the color, study the interaction, study the technology itself, and yeah, and that can get you pretty far actually. And always experimenting.
Yeah. That's the thing with, well, many creative fields. You have to like learn and maybe even copy and grow your
Oh yeah,
skills. And after that, you can come up with some original stuff. Obviously, you can try it before, but it is way easier after you have the skills, like to whip
like
up something that has never been seen.
like it's not like everything like you cannot claim something to be uniquely yourself. Like Austin Kleon put it perfectly, like still like an artist. Like basically everything
Oh
has
yeah,
been established or maybe has been made. Like you don't invent a fucking circle shape, right? It's been
yeah,
around for fucking thousands of years. Like the way you can do about it is how do they approach this circle symbol logo or whatever or the R logo, and how can I do something about it that makes it truly mine instead of just like a copy and pasting it. But something that helps me a lot with my kind of learning process doing specifically creative dev is that I recreated them literally to the T, seconds by
yeah,
seconds, like every detail I copied a lot so I can understand like why they are doing it that specific way. And I did learn it from copying Joseph Berry. The courses itself is to copy his site. And I took that process as still until today. The copy if I wanted to learn something from other devs, like okay, how do they doing this WebGL page transition, for example, or maybe how do they doing this preloader, or why are they using this specific font that are not Helvetica but totally look like Helvetica, and there is a reason for that, right? And there is a reason like designers choosing typefaces, colors, and all that. But yeah, that's just my process on how I think
yeah.
about it,
That is cool.
I guess.
Maybe I should have asked this before the awards question. Like, is that even a good goal for designers? If we think of a young designer, maybe more senior designer, should they focus on something else than getting awards? What do you think?
Dude, this is a great question. I used to have a goal until I kind of letting it go. I have a goal like, hey, I wanna win some awards because there are not much like a player in Indonesia that won some awards side of the day back then. Like now, looking it back, once you won that side of the day, it's like, yeah, okay, you get some leads, and then that's it. Once you hit that, I guess it was for me. The goal probably changes from actually winning the awards to like I want to make something that I truly proud that I'm proud of. Like it's not winning some awards or maybe getting recognized by the industry or even designers. I don't care. Once I did that, I won the awards, and it's like okay, this is cool. I'd rather right now creating something that I'm proud of, that I like, that I enjoy, rather than chasing the industry. And if you're asking me if someone should chase the awards, I don't think they should. Really, I think this is going to be like cliche. I think that they should chase like the fulfillment itself after you finish the project, and that can mean a lot of different things. Could be money, could be anything. But if you're enjoying the process of design or maybe the development itself, regardless if you win, if you won the awards or not, if you're having fun with it, that's big win for me more than the awards itself.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, there might be someone listening to this and like, shouting that the awards are for certain types of sites. So if you are in the SEO conversion optimization camp, you're like laughing at the at all the awards.
Yeah.
But that's fine. There are sites for different goals and so on. Yeah. Okay, I believe we have to land this plane at some point, but I still want to ask you about like the Webflow community, because that's one of my favorite topics. And you are in Indonesia, so do you have like any meetups there around Webflow or around some other stuff you might be interested in?
Specifically Webflow, we used to have, so Webflow have been brought a lot of friends to me personally that in Indonesia. So I met a lot of cool people that right now we are having like a little community, but most of them are no longer using Webflow. But we've met through Webflow back when, I don't know if you're already using Webflow, back when FinSuite did a live stream every single week. Raymmar are still there. That was the golden quote unquote days of like Webflow community. And we met through there. And the community isn't that strong here necessarily, because most of, let's say, I'm not generalizing it, but most of like people in here in a country like mine, in a third world country, especially my country, still consider Webflow is an expensive stuff. The freelancer one, the freelancer plan costs, the agency, the agency plan costs like $49. And that's a lot of money in here. I mean, obviously, if you make money off of it like me, it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
But for people just to get started to like have a site going, especially if they hit like a ceiling in the free plan, they eventually needed to upgrade, and that upgrade it's not cheap, and that's why the majority of the people here are still doing traditional code with Next.js. But right now it's starting to get some traction. I just got back from Bali actually this week. Last week I was spending my entire week in Bali, and I've met a lot of locals that are starting to use Webflow to do some creative stuff, and they are liking it, and they ask me a bunch of stuff. So it's starting to grow year by year, actually. So it's a good thing. But it's not like it's not like as big as in the Western countries, in the US maybe, or maybe in the UK, where they have like a strong community. They have like an event like Flow Manchester, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And yeah, I would love to have one in here, but yeah, man, I've got a lot of projects to get done. So, the time is managing it, like scouting some places, it's not easy.
Yeah, same thing that I believe that a Webflow meetup in Finland will not happen if I do not do that. And I have been talking about it for so long that I kind of feel the pressure to actually do something about it. But Webflow announced like updates for their community stuff, like the platform, the grant, and the global leader stuff. So I feel I'm like hopeful that the good old days, the FinSuite live days, and like the feeling that we had back then will come back, and we get to do more stuff,
more community stuff, like we used to, right? So when this is probably just me. I don't know if we want to put it on the live video or not. Webflow isn't as community focused as it used to back again when FinSuite doing live streaming every single week, or maybe once every 2 weeks. I can't quite remember. Like everybody's under one same roof. You've got Flow Party with Melissa, and then collaborating with FinSuite with Raymmar. And then everybody just going into the same place, and it's not like as hype or as it's fun it used to be. I almost feel like that, or maybe it's just because of the tool it's growing. The consequences of like Webflow keep pushing updates, and then eventually they are now focusing more on the big or enterprises client rather than the creative designers. Like
yeah.
But yeah,
that That might be one reason, but also like all the AI stuff, cool new tools get the excitement nowadays. So it might be like combination of many factors or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm happy Webflow isn't like as AI-ify as many other companies. Like they wanted to embed everything. Webflow did some AI feature stuff, but it's not like kind of the as if it would like Replit or maybe Laughable, where everything is just like agentic. You're vibe coding, but Webflow are still you're still doing manually develop in Webflow, but now it has power to generate or maybe to kickstart some development with the power of the AI and cloud MCP right now, which is crazy.
It is. And have you actually noticed that Raymmar is doing live streams for Replit right now?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I just noticed that. Yeah.
That is cool. But I have a good feeling that Webflow will do some cool stuff with AI. As you mentioned, there's things with Claude. Now there is the Claude connector, so you do not have to use the MCP. You can just use the connector. And with all the components, I have a feeling that if they just like do the obvious stuff with like AI building, they will do good stuff. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one little funny section at the end, but before that, if people wanna check your work, contact you, maybe follow you, where should they go?
Just start bamoj.com on Google. That's gotta be me. I mean, obviously there's only me in there, and I'm mostly active on LinkedIn, and Twitter, Instagram, and I think people can check out my work in there. I mean, what else? Awards? No, mostly LinkedIn. A lot of my explorations and stuff are in there. My portfolio hasn't been updated for a long time, but that's the places that people can check.
And I will obviously put all the relevant links in the description. Just remember not to do any spammy LinkedIn lead gen posts, or Bimo will block you guys.
I'm gonna block you.
Okay, the last section is a funny Finnish section. So I will give you a Finnish phrase or idiom. I will translate that to English, and your job is to guess what it means. Is that cool?
Okay, so you're going to say something in Finnish, and then what? And then you get translated or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna translate it word to word. So it's gonna be a weird phrase, and you're just gonna try to guess what it means. I will give you hints if it's in English. I will say it firstly in Finnish and then in English. Okay, your saying firstly in Finnish is kissan ristiäiset, and the English translation is cat's christening, like cat's name giving party or something like that. So what does it mean if I say that I have a cat's christening that I have to attend to?
Damn, dude, that's hard. I have no fucking idea. Really, I'm blanking right now. Cat's christening. Dude, what does that mean? Dude, what?
I'll give you a hint. It's obviously some sort of event, but what kind of event would it be?
Can you say that word again, like in Finnish? What was it again?
Kissan ristiäiset. Kissa is a cat, and christening is ristiäiset.
Kissan risti, is that with a K or C? K, right?
Yeah, in Finnish we usually use K. Very like seldom the C.
Oh, what is it?
Give me something. I will end your agony after the first guess.
Kissan risti is a cat? No, sorry. The what? Give me the hint again.
Damn, so it's some sort of event. What kind of event?
Oh, some sort of event.
Would that be? Yeah.
I'm gonna totally blow it. Blow the fuck out of it. Like, I don't know, Christmas? I'm guessing it's gonna be Christmas or something like that. Like, is it like an event? Okay.
It's not a specific event. It's just like you can like describe one event, whichever event, with saying that it's a kissan ristiäiset, so cat's christening. Do you want to shoot one more time, or will I give you the answer?
Dude, just give me the answer. I have no fucking idea. I really have no idea.
Yeah, it's quite simple. It just means that it is an unimportant event. So if you get an invite to something that you really do not want to go and you have no reason to go there, but you get invited, you can say that I just got a invite to a cat's christening, meaning that it's really weird to have a party for giving a name to a cat. That's like the logic behind that.
Yeah, I totally get it now.
Yeah.
I really like hear someone speaking in Finnish, so it's not only like kind of natural for me. But yeah, thank you for the lesson, by the way. So yeah, I'm learning every single day.
I have to do this little Finnish thing at the end of each episode. It's just rooting for the little guys, because Finland is not too big of a country. But okay, Bimo, thank you so much for being a guest here and sharing all the wisdom. And for the listeners and for the watchers, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you for having me, John. Thank you. Bye.